All right, from the studios in Fairfax City, we are very grateful that Paul Wertico accepted our invitation to our show. Paul, welcome to my humble podcast.
Thank you, Claudio. Great to see you again, man. Happy New Year.
Same to you. Have Merry Christmas as well, a little late. So let's go back to the beginning of your life. For people, I'm quite sure everybody knows who you are, but just in case there are new people there, they don't know, feel free to elaborate, your start in music, where you came from a musical family. How old were you when you perhaps, playing with sticks at the time? You didn't have a drum and so on and so forth. What led you into music to begin with?
Sure. Well, my family, I'm an only child, and my mom and father, they were not musical. So, and actually no one in my family was musical. So I really don't know how I got here as far as that. You know, I just always heard music. I loved music. It was just a natural thing for me to kind of follow my passion. And, I had other passions. I had, sports, I had chemistry, but I was lucky in um, I guess, my upbringing to have some great, my grade school teacher, my high school teacher, people that were able to let me be me, for instance,
Yeah,
and let my personality and my vision and my passions and all those things kind of just keep going. Because otherwise, I probably would have said, "No, I don't want to do that," because I don't, I'm not the kind of person to be told what to do. I like to do what I want to do, but also with the respect to everybody else, not to be an egomaniac or just, talk about like, oh, this is what I want to do. I don't care about anybody else. My vision was always to make everything around me better. And as a drummer and as a musician and hopefully as an educator and as a human being, that's my goal in life is just to try to make things better in the way I see them.
yeah. Got you. Were you in any band in high school when you were, I don't know, 14, 15, that age?
Well, sure. I mean, my parents, we moved to Cary, Illinois, and
Yeah.
it was just going into sixth grade. And, my mom said, take up an instrument. Don't take up the drums, which was funny because I was always playing with, the radio with pencils. And I joined the grade school band. And my band director was a saxophone teacher named Vern Pade, and he taught me how to hold the drumsticks and how to read music. But I'm basically self-taught. And then I became like the grade school soloist because I don't know, I could just play better than
Yeah.
my friends that were playing 4 years better than me. And then I went to high school, Cary Grove High School, where I had an amazing band director, Donald Ahrensberger, who was a trumpet player. We're still friends to this day. I dedicated my book, Turn the Beat Around, to him. And he would just let me do whatever I wanted to do. I could improvise on symphonies and everything. And he was, one of those band directors that not only let everybody kind of blossom in their own way, but he would take us out on his own money to go see Duke Ellington, Count Basie, Buddy Rich, Woody Herman, Stan Kenton, Les Brown, and we would sit with these guys. So here I am in high school sitting on the break with Duke Ellington next to me or Count Basie next to me. I mean,
Wow.
so those were the type of things that, allowed me to love music and blossom in the way I saw it. And then also, I'm self-taught on the drum set. So like I asked my mom many years ago, like, oh, mom, can I take some drum set lessons? And she was like, no, no, just do what you're doing. So I guess I had this natural thing. I have great reflexes and good ears and all that stuff. And drumming was just really easy for me. And one thing led to another, and then I got a scholarship at Western Illinois University, and the next thing I know, here I am.
I imagine that you knew back then when you were 18 or 19. I know, I remember that you attended school and you had that dropping up, I think. You knew back then that music was your thing, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And
Well, it was funny because I just loved it. And it was a very natural thing. And, I mean, kind of kidding around, but, when you're younger, you think, oh, wow, the girls all think I'm cool. And, I don't have to wake up early in the morning as a musician. Later on, you find out, yeah, you got 6
You
a.m.
have to.
lights and stuff. But no, I mean, it was just a thing that it really found me as much as I found it. I mean, like I think life is, one of those journeys. We were talking about it earlier before we went on about like how sometimes life just finds you and you find it, and if you're lucky enough you can recognize it and then take it, and then the next forks in the road, you take the right ones, and
Mm.
before you know it you're actually going in a direction that you've always
Mm.
wanted to go, even if you didn't know about it.
Yeah, like we said before, the journey is many, many, many times more important than destination. Enjoy, keep on doing what you're doing. Like I told you before, when I opened one radio and during the pandemic, I began doing interviews. I never question myself the end product. I want to get to know musicians, get to know people, and learn more about music. That's the satisfaction, right? In your case, definitely music found you.
Yeah,
I mean, no, there's no question around it. Many people go to this teacher, that teacher, that teacher, and look at you, man. Behind you, you have 7 Grammys, man.
yeah,
Like, my
yeah,
my God, man.
yeah. Well, it was also, I listen to everything. I listen to rock, I listen to jazz, ethnic music. So it's almost like the world now. If you think about the world, it's like us against them. And, if you really look musically, sometimes there were people like, oh, jazz people thought rock people were terrible back then, or rock people, might not understand jazz. So they just wanted to play simple music, just the kind of things where, um, you go, oh, it's just that. That's nothing. Well, no, if you listen to everything, it's all got special qualities to it. And I was lucky enough to keep an open mind, to have my mind stay open by my teachers and everything, not close me up. And that way I was able to discover that, music from Chile, if you incorporate that into a jazz thing, but with rock elements, all of a sudden you had a new thing. It's just like when
Absolutely.
if you cook Italian or Mexican or Greek or Japanese, people started going, oh, what happens if we mix these two things? And next thing you know, you have new combinations of beautiful food. And that's what you want to make is beautiful music, you know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Looking back now, well, going forward, from whatever the time you finish high school until now, 2024, you have been described to one of the most versatile musical drummers, no drummer, but the musical drummer in music today, man. And of course, you were a member of the Pat Metheny Group from 1993 to 2001. Good for you, man. You know.
Well, I've been lucky in all my relationships. I've been with my wife for since 1976, basically. I've,
Yeah.
I've been teaching. This is my 22nd year at Roosevelt University, and before that, I was 16 years at Northwestern University. Almost all the bands, when I look at my discography, which is hundreds and hundreds of records, a lot of the bands I played with, there's many years of playing with them, many records, not just one
Mm.
record and then you're gone, or one year
Mm.
and you're gone. So I really feel that longevity is also important because, some people just kind of they just touch something and then they're gone. But sometimes you stay with things and new things open up. And it's a journey that sometimes there's things that come up that it's almost like a wall that you have to get through to get to that next thing. And I think musically and personally and everything, I've been very fortunate to have kept going.
Yeah, good for you, man. You like to be how when you hire somebody, it's not your band and somebody hired to put some drum track on an album and it become complicated or the person is arrogant or you don't get along or whatever. How with your experience you manage this stuff because a lot of people there with a lot of personalities know your band. They hire you to do X, Y, Z. You get paid for the stuff. How you're able to because you're very friendly, easy to get along. But some people out there are complicated, and especially musicians. So how you manage that kind of situation when?
Well, I think I'm probably complicated too, but it's not to put those complex issues on the other people you're dealing with.
That's right. Yeah, yeah.
So, you know, over this winter break from Roosevelt University, I've been putting a lot of the CDs and LPs and cassettes onto just on my iMusic, just so I have them, thousands of tracks. And
Yeah.
sometimes I go back, oh my God, who is this person? And, it's not only Pat Metheny and, like Kurt
Mm.
Elling and, Larry Coryell, but there's children's records. There's all, so sometimes you're a studio musician where you go in and they want you because they like your feel. They know that you're going to be able to read the music down, get the job done quickly. But you don't put necessarily, well, you put your personality, but maybe only a fraction percent of your personality. And then you have other really very improvisational music where you put 100% of your personality all the time. So sometimes, in other words, you work as a craftsman and sometimes you work as an artist. But as an artist, you want to have the craft together. And as a craftsman, you want to have the art in your craftsmanship.
Yeah. Big differences between being a band leader versus, being a band member playing with somebody else's. And you have, I assume, of course, obviously there are differences, but it's beauty in both, right? When you help, you're part of a trio. In your case, with playing
Well,
with this guy, the guy, versus being your, Paul Wertico trio, right? Being on your own, right? Playing,
well, the
right?
difference, I mean, that's a great question or a great statement because I think when you're a sideman, if you're a responsible sideman, you do a 1,000% for everybody. But if someone makes a mistake, you might look and go, oh, the guy made a mistake. But if you're the leader and someone in your band makes a mistake, it reflects on you even more personally because then you're going, oh my God, I'm
Yeah.
putting my name on this, and all of a sudden the bass player or whoever, the guitar player or sax player, they made a mistake. It's like a bigger dagger to the heart. You know what I mean?
Mm.
As
Yeah.
opposed to just looking and go, oh, whoops, And then as a drummer, you try to fix those things. So, if someone makes a mistake, it's not to go, aha, you made a mistake, but to actually maybe fix it cosmetically. You do something that mistake is actually like Miles Davis, with Herbie Hancock. Herbie was talking about playing a wrong, quote unquote, wrong chord, but then Miles would fix it with the next note. So, it's like with everything in life, we try to fix things to make everything work and not make people feel guilty. Hopefully, they'll learn from their mistakes. Sometimes a mistake is just a mistake is a mistake, but is it really a mistake? I was just talking to someone recently. I just did a duo record with Dave Becker that's going to be coming out, and he was talking. I guess Frank Gambale once said to Chick Corea, he wanted to fix a note on a record, and Chick said, "Well, why did you play it?" Which I thought was pretty interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, so there's all these different ways of looking at stuff. But I think in general, I just think we want to, live a life that when we close our eyes at the end of the day or at the end of our lives, we feel like we've done something positive for the world. That's the way I kind of look at it.
Yeah. Yeah. There's something positive to the world. You mentioned that we live in crazy time. Never mind United States, but in Ukraine, Russia, now we're going into 3 years, and
Yeah.
Palestine and Israel, and I don't know. Maybe we're doomed as a human society. We cannot get along, and whatever political views, and people have different views about in this country and in the world. You know, uh, I don't know. I don't know what to think about as human being, man. With the borders and people killing one another, and I don't know. I don't want to get involved into more politics, but it's terrible, man. I mean, it's sad. It's sad. That's the word that I'm looking for. A human being, after 2,000 years of Catholicism, Christianity, we do a lot of stupid stuff.
Well, it's like with music. I mean, I teach a lot of music history classes
Yeah.
because if you're going to play jazz or rock or blues or whatever, you really want to know where it came from. And sometimes you really realize that people don't always know the history of what they're trying to play. And it's the same with this. I mean, what you're talking about, unless you really know the history of humanity, we are kind of, unfortunately going to repeat those same things, you know?
Mm.
And so the idea is to uh, somehow make the evolution of the human species positive so that we can get along, but it takes a long time. I don't know if we'll ever get there. I mean, in our lifetimes, who knows? I mean, eventually we might, but you also, I don't want to stay on this too long but if you really look at species, you look at how we treat animals, how the planet goes. It's a lot more complicated than all that stuff too,
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
so it's one of those things where, we can try to clean up the planet, but if you don't pick up the garbage right next to you, which is our job, we can only do so much.
so much, right?
You
Yeah,
can't
yeah,
just go, oh, okay, everything is fixed now. So
yeah,
I think it's all our responsibilities to try to do what we can. And,
sure.
it's just same thing with music, like, we're just trying to do what we can. Um,
Mm.
with Pat Metheny, we knew right away when the record was going to be released. I was, hundreds of thousands of people were going to hear it. But a lot of my favorite records, you know, people don't know because we might sell 1,000 or a couple thousand because they're not promoted the same way or whatever. It's everything is very complex, and I think
Mhm.
um, we just have to figure out a way that works for us individually
Mhm.
that makes it work so that we can do what we need to do, but at the
Mhm.
same time, also hopefully kind of make other people around us succeed too.
Absolutely. I told you before that I grew up in a family that music was important. I'm very glad that I was able to, that I was born there. And my music, I don't play an instrument. I have no interest in playing this instrument. I don't know how to read music, but music has given me so much satisfaction in my life. And I'm very grateful for my dad that he began playing 70 RPM and 33 RPM, 60 years ago. And music is a beautiful thing, man. So
Well,
hopefully,
to go along with what you just said, Zakir Hussain just died, a few days ago. And there was a really beautiful thing where someone asked him, like, why music? Why is it important? And he went into this explanation as that music can and art in general, but music can bring up people's spirits, you know what I mean? As
yeah,
opposed to just think about money or politics or fame. Music and art can make people, and I know this firsthand. I mean, even on the road, sometimes, say with Pat, we'd be exhausted, and I'd put on a record that I loved, and the next thing I know, I had more energy again. So
yeah,
that's the thing. A lot of times, it's music is not only about theory and all the things that people like think about like as entertainment, but it's also a spiritually lifting thing.
absolutely, man.
Yeah,
So, yeah, absolutely. And being on the road, you went with Pat for many years, and it's tough to be on the road. People don't understand that, I'm going to a gig, whatever,
yeah.
in downtown Chicago to see you with your trio, right? And I pay money and I arrive on time on 7:30 or whatever, and I expect you to deliver the best of the best, to be the best of your life. And when you went bad, you went to bed about 12 or 1. You need to wake up early, catch a flight, take the bus, go from city to city. Perhaps you didn't have a good night's sleep and this and that. But I'm expecting you to deliver the best concert of your life at 7:30 p.m., right? And you need to rehearse, and then do you do the same thing the next day and the next day, and it's very difficult to be a musician. And plus your family is in a different country, a different city, and you don't see a loved one for 3 months or whatever. And yeah, the money is good, but at the beginning it wasn't that good, but then it's tough to be on the road, and so it's
Well, when you're younger, it's great to go, oh my God, I'm going to go to this country or this continent. Um, I mean, I still travel, but not like that. I mean, I think that's one reason I love teaching at the
Cool,
university is because not only can I inspire
cool.
really talented students, many of which who have gone on to have great careers, but then
Yeah,
I can be home and have dinner with my family at night.
sure. Yeah,
Yeah. And the other thing, it used to be different in the old days. I mean, in the old days, you could get on a plane, but your tour manager would check everybody in, and you could get to the airport 5 minutes before the plane took off, and boom, you're on. Now you have to get there early. You don't know if the plane's going to be on time or canceled. It's not as easy as it was in many respects, but that's just the way it is. I mean, if you think about the old days, like say I mentioned Duke Ellington earlier, in the old days, Duke Ellington would have to go on a boat and travel 2 weeks plus to get to Europe and then
yeah.
play a concert and then 2.5 weeks to get back on a boat. So, so it's always really easy to complain about things, but in many ways, we have it pretty easy.
Yeah,
We have air conditioning, we have heat in the hotels. Nowadays, I mean, I always tell my students this. In the old days, you would go to the hotel and you want to call your wife. So you're in Germany and now you've got to use the hotel phone, which is going to cost you a fortune. And
that's right.
it's also got that time lag. So you would go, "Hi, hi, how you doing?" "I'm fine." And it makes you feel like, uh-oh, what's happening? Because there was that time lag. Now
Sure, sure.
we see each other and talk
But
in real time. So, I mean, there's so many things that are more beneficial too. I think always have to look at the positive and the negative, see what we can do about the quote unquote negative, but also appreciate that, many things are so much better than they used to be, even though romantically speaking about like, oh, the old times must have been so great. Well, they were, but they weren't too.
that's right. That's right. I was looking at your background that, man, you are an associate professor of jazz studies at Roosevelt University, the Chicago College of Performing Arts. Man, that's good for you, man. Good for you, man. That's a very good school. I'm quite sure it's a very good program. And what you look back in your life, Paul, and you see, well, you were taught by a lot of great people, and now you're teaching all the young kids in the early 20s or mid 20s, where must bring you a lot of satisfaction to do that. What people did for you, right? And now you're doing for them and so on. So forth. It's I'm quite sure it's a great to be a professor, especially at that school, teaching the stuff that you love the most. So
Yeah, and it's a relay race. Life is a relay race. So we pass on the
that's right.
on to keep going. And I think the teachers that I had, allowed me to be me. And that's the way I teach. I mean, I look at every student and I go, okay, I'm going to make that student hopefully become the best of what they want to be, as opposed to just what I think they should all be. And so
Mm.
all my students sound different because they all are different. And I just help them be able to realize who they are and give them the tools but also the inspiration and everything to make them the best that they can be in their own eyes, as well as the grade or whatever.
Yeah. And then I imagine that at the end of the semester, they need to, I don't know, finals or the equivalent. All these kids that are, I'm doing a master degree or bachelor music with you, they play in band, they play during the weekend, and you as a teacher could attend to see them. And it's a beautiful thing too.
Yeah, it's like
See,
having your own. It's like, I mean, we have one daughter who just got married recently and is very, doing well. I mean,
yeah,
unbelievably well. But then the students are also like your own kids too,
kids, right?
and then you help them along with their lives.
Yeah, good for you. You did have like a radio show some years ago, right?
Oh,
Like
I did.
years and 2010 to 12, 2012, if I remember correctly. Yeah.
Good. Yeah. I mean, that's a funny story too. There was WNUA, which was a smooth jazz station here in Chicago, very, very popular. I mean, Ramsey Lewis had a show and everything. when they kind of, I don't know, the station kind of changed and they became something else. And all of a sudden they asked me if I wanted to have a radio show. And I said, well, sure, but I don't want to play smooth jazz. I want to play my kind of music. So they said, sure. And so for 2 years, I had Paul Wertico's Wild World of Jazz,
All
where I would
right.
play Louis Armstrong to Captain Beefheart. I would play all kind of stuff. And it was really a lot of fun. We did it all in my house. I have a studio, and we would just do the shows, and it was fun for me because not only did I get a chance to hopefully expose music to people that might have never heard that kind of wide range of music, but even for me, I kind of learned to speak better because the first time I heard myself talk that way, I was, oh my God, I'm slurring my words or I'm, speaking too fast so I can't articulate properly or finish my thoughts. So, because my mind works so fast, I mean, it's
Mm.
weird. I mean, my mind is going like 1,000 miles per hour on multiple levels all the time. So to get the speech out sometimes can be difficult. I guess make it work so that I was able to keep my mind flowing, but also articulate what I was trying to say at the moment, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
I
It was,
imagine that, no, thank you. I imagine that, going your head going into another direction
well, you're
and
breaking up. I'm
able
sorry.
to concentrate and so forth. That help you a lot I think there was a lag in the video for your Wi-Fi, but it's
Quiet for a
okay now.
second. Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay. I mind that, you
Uh,
know,
a second. There's a little lag.
yeah,
Okay, good.
it's okay now. I mind that thinking that fast and your head going 1,000 miles an hour, right? It help you a lot as a musician because it's when you are
Oh,
sitting in the back, right? You need to see what the bass guy on your left and with Pat Metheny on the right and the Laos on the right hand side and Pedro Aznar was in the middle. You need to be an observer. You're in the back, but you need to coordinate and make coordinate and you need to think within seconds, this note, this coming up,
absolutely.
the intro is this and so on and so forth. It's a lot of work. I'm very bad, have very bad memory. I
Well,
couldn't be a musician.
absolutely.
Go ahead.
Well, I tell my students that too. You know, every musician has certain qualities. So, it could be the way you hear, how well you hear pitch, how fast your reflexes are, how well your mind can put things into order, so composing thoughts, into statements. There's so many things, and everybody's different. So, not everybody's going to be the fastest drummer. Not everybody's going to be the most versatile drummer. I mean, and that's actually for every instrument. So, what helps you make you into the best version of you? Because if you want to be something you're not, that's okay to try to do that, but why not also celebrate who we are individually? If that,
Sure.
and that's the way I've always looked at it.
No,
Yeah,
absolutely, man. I was reading an interview that you
yeah.
did, I think last year, that you've been compared as an impressionist painter. You have been called an inspired madman as well.
It's
Which
probably
is, I
true.
don't know. What's your take on that in those
I'm
statements?
sure if you ask my wife, I'm sure she'll say I'm an inspired madman.
Yeah, but you do well in your life, which is impressive. And I was also I noticed that some years ago you end up writing an instructional book. I think it's called Turn the Beat Around and
Right.
Driver's Guide to Playing Backbeat, and that's a beautiful thing as well. Not only that you can play, but you can write and sit down and develop that particular wood for that you could be used at school or for future generation. That's a great thing to do as well. So
Well, it's really funny about that. I've written, many, many articles, for
yeah,
many magazines over the years. And then someone, Michael Finkelstein, who was working at that time for Alfred Music, said, "Oh, you should write a book." And I was going to write a book about my personal philosophies. And then when I talked to Dave Black, who was with Alfred, he goes, "Well, we're looking for something different." So all of a sudden, I got this inspiration about playing the backbeat on instead of on beats 2 and 4, on beats 1 and 3, because no one has ever written about that ever since, actually. And so it took me about 2 years. I was very careful. I didn't want people to steal that idea. And it finally came out. I still think that a lot of people haven't explored that yet. Because a lot of, world music and music like reggae and stuff uses the 1 and 3 as the heavier beat, as does classical music, but everything is based on 2 and 4. The snare drum's always on 2 and 4 for most music,
Yeah.
and great, but why not reverse it, you know what I mean?
Mm.
So when that came out, it's done okay. I think it's still ahead of its time, and there's another publisher that wants me to write all these books. It's just a matter of me having enough time to do all these things, because a lot of stuff kind of comes out where it's great to, like even records. I have so many people ask me to do records, and I try to do as many things as I can, but I
Mm.
also want to live my life too. I really just don't want to be like a worker bee and just do stuff. I want to watch television with my wife. I want to have, I love to cook. I want to have a life too. So the balance is really what's important. And like that book, I mean, we'll see if it ever really catches on, and but that wasn't the point. The point was like just with music. I don't care if the music I play sells 1,000 copies or 1,000,000 copies. To me, it's I need to get it out. And that's the way I looked at that book.
I got you. Well, you could have retired. You have done well with your life, and but you keep on going. You keep on going. You keep on going. What's the motivation?
I don't know. I mean, retire to what? You know what I mean? I mean, my life allows me to do all the things I love to do and help other people, and I still get to travel, and I get to
Mm.
pay the bills. And to retire, I mean, I'll be 72 like in about a week. I still feel like I'm 18. So
Yeah.
when I think of retire, I don't know what that would even mean. I mean, it might allow me to write books, or it might allow me to do a few things because, school and everything takes up time and energy, but that also feeds my passions too. So, I mean, retirement, I think if you work a gig that you hate, well, sure, you want to like get away from that and enjoy the time on the planet. But I don't feel like my time on the planet is limited by what I'm doing. I really feel like everything I'm doing is still has the same motivation and passion as it did when I was a kid.
That's good for you, man. You go to Italy a lot, right?
I love it. Yeah. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Well, you love Italy. They love you.
Yeah. I mean, we've talked about, our daughter and her husband got married there. That was like the greatest. I mean, that was a wedding that looked like it was a billionaire's wedding. I mean, everything was perfect. The weather was perfect. The,
Yeah.
the you know, the planner did the most amazing jobs. Our friend, I mean, it was just,
Everything worked out well. Yeah.
yeah, that's kind of one of the things where you kind of look at your life and you go, am I doing okay? Am I successful or not? I mean, I hate that word, but I go, yeah, I mean, I might not be a billionaire or whatever, but man, my life
Mm.
has been very blessed, and hopefully I can pass it on to people. And what else is there,
Yeah. No, I was looking at absolutely. You have well. You're very humble. You have done well. 7 Grammy Award, Chicago of the Year, Fusion Drama of the Year, Lifetime Achievement Award. Chicago Midwest Emmy Award, Independent Music Award, and not too bad, huh? Not too bad
Yeah, not too bad.
for a kid that gets his drum when he was 14 or 15. No, it's amazing that you learn on your own. It's
Yeah.
very difficult for me to really. I'm serious. It's a serious question. I know you're very humble, Paul, but you did everything on your own. It's you didn't have teachers, and you were hitting the pillow. Learn. Have to play with the drum in your hand, and it's amazing, man.
I I mean,
Good for
seriously,
you, man.
thanks. I
Good for
mean,
you, man.
I don't even know what to say. I just feel really very lucky and blessed and fortunate and all that. And, I mean, yeah, I don't even know what to say. It's still like kind of a dream a lot of times. Like I was saying, with all those thousands of songs I played on and all those hundreds of records, I go, who is this person? It's almost like I'm living a life that I know I'm here and I know where I want to go as far as like just moving forward. But when I look at back at my thing, it's almost like something else was playing me. It's like, it wasn't a conscious thing. And I think if you can live your life where you're connected to the universe, and it sounds very eclectic and spiritual or whatever, but I think, everything is out there for us. And hopefully, if we're lucky enough that we can find the things that really make us vibrate the way we want to vibrate and do what we need to do, then you've won the lottery. You've won the life's lottery in a lot of ways.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. Good for you, man. I've been very blessed in my life as well. So,
Yeah.
we're very lucky, and it's United States with all the problem and craziness, still the best country in the world. You can go to any galaxy out there, you will never find another American. So I'm the American dream alive. So you need to find what you like. Hopefully, be good at it. Make a living, raise a family, and be happy. And do the right thing in life. And you have done it. I have done it. And it's a beautiful thing, man. Talking about music in general,
Yeah.
First Circle is 1984, so it's a 4-year anniversary. Uh, for me, not only is, in my humble opinion, the very best of Pat Metheny Group, but that particular record is in my probably top 50.
Mm.
My music collection is about 15,000 between
Oh,
five CD, vinyl, Blu-ray. I'm doing this from the living room, but I have floors of Dolby Atmos, stereo, and a bunch of stuff. As I told you before, Paul, music is a very important part of my life. I listen to music on a minimal 2-3 hours a day, right? Some days I work from home, other days go to the office. But when I drive to the office, I take 2 CDs, one on the way, and then going back, and I keep on buy a lot of music. I go to a lot of concerts I support. I don't. I listen to Spotify usually, but I feel like I'm ripping off, musicians because they don't get it better. So I buy a lot of stuff, and I buy to Bandcamp, and I help be a Patreon because music is a beautiful thing, and that particular album is it's amazing, man. For me, it's as I say, not only that, of course, yeah, I'm biased. I like Pandefini but it does that an amazing album 4 years ago with Pat Metheny, with Lyle Mills, Steve Rodby, and Pedro Aznar. You remember making the record? I think you guys went to a studio for like 3 or 4 days, and then you guys put it together.
yeah,
Yeah,
we were in the power station. I mean, one
station. Yeah.
thing, thank God, I've got an amazing memory. I mean, I can remember everything about everything. I think I've got like a kind of a photographic memory. So I remember all that stuff, you
Hmm.
know. And yeah, unlike the later records that, took months and months because we had the budget to go and do a recording in 6 months. I mean, that record was done in a couple days. And it was just, yeah, I mean, again, what can I say? Just lucky to, be involved in so many great projects that now are thought of as historic records. Because, when you do a record, you just try to play the best you can on a record. You have no idea
Yeah.
what it's going to be or whatever. But, when people write to me and they go, oh my God. I mean, even, with my new cymbals, the Vertical Ride that Dream Cymbals make, all these
Well,
people writing me, oh my God, you got me into flat rides with Pat Metheny when I saw this show in London
yeah.
or whatever. I'm going, oh my God. So that's another thing is that a lot of times we don't really know what we're how we're going to affect people out there. We're just doing what we do, you know,
Yeah.
and just might be just playing the best you can on a track and responding the best way you can. And then all of a sudden it goes into a thing, whether it's an LP or a cassette or a vinyl, or, CD or whatever. And all of a sudden people around the world hear it and it changes their lives. I mean, it's pretty amazing the kind
Yeah. Yeah.
know.
You,
And the other thing you were mentioning about like with Spotify, I'm not going to go there, but um, CDs and LPs sound so much better than streaming.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and see the one of the sad things about today's music is that kids will listen, with the little earbuds on the train, and they hear a sound, but they don't feel the way things were mixed and mastered to like
Mm,
have this three-dimensional impact,
mm,
which is not only the sound of
mm,
it, but also the way we feel that we want to communicate, It's the difference between you and I talking, texting, or emailing each other, or Zooming each other, or seeing each other live. Those are different things because,
absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, and so much of the streaming thing is more like a text or an email. It just goes out, but it doesn't have all those beautiful elements of seeing a person talk, or when you're live, being able to touch somebody and go, yeah, man, so
Mm,
we've lost a lot of the I mean, we've lost a lot of the elements that were made that some music so special, you know.
absolutely. Yeah.
Say,
Yeah.
hopefully we'll get
So,
it back. I don't know. I mean, you know, people sold all their LPs back in the day for CDs. Now, then people sold all their CDs to go to streaming, and now people are buying LPs and they're buying CDs again. What can
yeah,
I say?
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So you didn't really, at the time when you guys finished that album in the power station after 3 days, you guys didn't know that, of course, you don't know for sure the repercussion that a particular uh, album will make in 40 years later. But you, of course, you were happy, and the engineer was happy. Okay, let's master it. Okay, let's take a couple of days off, and we'll see you guys each other in Wednesday, whatever.
Right.
So that I have to say before that record, for me and to many people in the world, and have make a big impact, man.
Thanks.
Uh,
Yeah, you never know. I
no,
think, like I said, just because it was that group and the group had already had a following, we knew that we would have uh, more people would hear it than when you just make a record here and then you don't know um,
but
who's going to buy it or who's going to hear it, or
mm,
if you have the money and the ability to do a follow-up tour. Because, back in the day, that's what you did. You made a
yeah,
recording, you toured on the recording, you sold the recording, which led to the ability to make another recording. Nowadays, people make records and they put it out on, YouTube or wherever they can make it, but they might not have the ability to play live. And if they play live, what are they selling? Because people aren't buying like product. They're not buying mechanical royalties. That means it's a thing that you're getting paid by. So people go out and they sell t-shirts or hats or something now too. It's just a different world. But
yeah,
again, man, it's always been different. I mean, I tell my students in a lot of the classes I teach, just imagine back in the day of, say, Mozart or Bach or something, where, you were going to go hear a concert by, Bach or Liszt or something, and you'd have to get on your buggy with a horse and go 10 days in the silence on these roads, and then you heard a concert, and then you have to go 10 days back and relive that concert in your head. Now we just push a button, there it is, there's another one, everything has changed.
I
So
believe, yeah.
yeah,
Especially the younger generation, right? They can listen to a CD in a minute, 10 seconds next, 10 seconds next, 10
yep,
seconds next.
yep,
As opposed to you and I buying the record, seeing the pictures, the lyrics, and you know It's obviously different world together. I don't know if better or worse,
Who knows? I mean, really, I mean,
no,
it
who am
is
I?
what it is
It is
because
what it is. So,
I told my wife, I mean, say for instance, I love trains, I love trains.
mhm.
So, steam locomotives. I love like steam locomotives. I've driven them and everything. Now, it's beautiful, but steam locomotive, it polluted, all that black smoke coming out. It was the railroads were responsible to going west and the annihilation of, American Indians and the buffalo. So you have to take the good with the bad sometimes, if that makes sense. You
Yeah,
know,
certainly. Yeah.
yeah, and so for some people, a certain type of music is like the greatest thing they ever heard, and to other people, it's just noise.
Mhm. Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, that's why I think it's our responsibility to do the best we can uh, to be ourselves, but also have a realization of how ourselves can actually work within the framework of the bigger picture.
I got you. I got you. I was looking at Pat Metheny discography and the record that you were in at the time, and First Circle, Steve Likes Talking, Letter from Home, We Live Here, Quartet, Imaginary Day. Any particular album, if you will, is any or particular period year is was more meaningful to you than other, or
No, I don't think so. I mean, there's certain songs I might like,
yeah.
more than others. But no, I mean, it was just a journey. If you think about art as a journey in life, those records were just a journey in the life of that band.
Mm.
That's all it is. And
Yeah.
then it goes to something else. So it's like, say Pat and I, we had a relationship from First Circle through whatever, what, Imaginary Day or whatever.
Imaginary Day, yeah.
And then we split off, and then he has a different drummer, and I have a different band, and it's just the natural progress of life, you know. And I think the main thing is that if we're lucky enough to find those relationships that are so beautiful, so that relationship with Pat, even though it might not be a perfect relationship for everything I wanted to do all the time, it was an incredible relationship because we made great music together. So both of us were able to, you know, benefit from that time and then go on to different things. And that's what it's about.
Yeah. I met Lyle Mays.
Yeah.
I talked briefly, like about 5, 7 minutes with him, I don't know, so many years ago. And I noticed that he, independent of being a musician, right? Independent of the music, he was like a very gifted individual, very
Oh,
smart. Within a couple of minutes, I knew, oh, this guy is, it's a Harvard kid or MIT, no kid, but person. Because I asked him, we were talking about, I don't remember, that was like 20 years ago, after a gig, and I knew right away, man, this person not only he's a great musician, of course, he's part of Pat Metheny, and I like Pat Metheny, but he's a very smart individual as well. I mean,
yeah.
yeah,
He was a genius, not
yeah,
just musically, but just overall. I mean,
yeah,
there's certain people, and you don't meet, that many of them. I mean, there's
yeah,
the most talented people, but people of that kind of IQ. I don't know if I want to say IQ because IQ can sometimes be looked upon as a measurement of standard intelligence. I kind of
sure,
look upon it as just being gifted in so many ways.
yeah,
The guy could play chess better than anybody, pool better than anybody. He could juggle better than anybody. He could,
wow,
just one of those kind of things that you go, oh my God, this person has all these gifts, you know.
mhm,
And music was one of them. And he was a great guy, I mean, complicated as most people of that kind of brilliance are, but in a good way. I mean, a good soul, a good person, But
yeah,
he did added positivity to the
uh,
planet, you know.
yeah, absolutely. No, he was within 5 minutes. I knew the guy was very, very bright,
Oh yeah, for
and
sure.
I think this is my opinion. I think when you were playing with Pat, you couldn't, how can I say this to sounds polite? You couldn't express yourself as a great drummer that you are, I mean, people know you because the type of music you were playing, fusion, with